notice is QR code for the instructions and stickers, and the warranty registration with a QR code. And the cool thing about Kleinn air horns is that these are vehicle specific, so this kit is designed to fit specifically for this truck. Just like the air horns on that truck, it's designed to fit specifically for that year, make, and model. 2.8 gallon air tank. We have a Kleinn compressor, some air lines, and these right here are all the brackets to fit your train horns and the compressor to this truck. And this model specifically has onboard air management system, so this is for your onboard air, wire looms, wires, everything you need to make the compressor work. This one came specifically with the sniper, which is a remote control to activate your train horns from far away. And this is a 730 train horn set. Flip the box. There you go. And just to show you guys how big this train horn set really is, with the trumpets on the train horn, and it's actually metal, not plastic. And for comparison, we have it right next to some Nitto 38-inch tires. That's a pretty good size. Right next to some 37s. These are Nitto 37-inch tires. That's not too bad for some train horns next to 37-inch tires. Just hold the train horns. There you go. For reference, this is a what, 5'6"? You're 5'6" with Air Maxes 5'7". Huh?
Yeah, 5'7". I do.
Okay. Not bad. All right, let's go ahead and install it. Here we have the whole kit unboxed. Here we have all the brackets right here, which is for the compressor, air tank, and the trumpets. And we have the 2.8 gallon tank right there with the wiring kit right there. And we have the compressor, which is right here, that is fully waterproof, and it can actually submerge underwater. At SEMA 2023, they had a fish tank in which this compressor was submerged for the whole week that it was there, and it was working. So you don't have to worry about looking for a dry area to put your compressor during the installation, because it is fully waterproof. Kleinn's probably the only company with fully waterproof compressor. All right, so this is everything that's in the wiring harness package. We have all the wires, which we'll explain what these wires are for in a little bit. Fuse tap, zip ties, bunch of connectors. That's gonna come in handy here in a little bit. We have a relay, pressure switch, a bunch of nuts and bolts, and bunch of fittings for the air compressor. So this is the complete kit. So when you buy Kleinn's air horn set, this is everything that comes with it. You don't have to go out to the store and buy anything. And this is what actually impressed me and surprised me the most, is that it comes with a wire loom, so that way you can tuck in and hide all these wires and run it with your factory lines, so that way it looks factory and nothing looks aftermarket. One thing that I usually don't like is whenever you have these aftermarket compressors or anything, people just use black and red wires and you can see them running throughout the truck, and to me that looks a little tacky. And the fact that you can hide it with this is something that, you know, they really thought of, and I'm truly impressed. There's actually two different sizes too, so depending on the thickness of your wire, you're going to use either the thinner one or the thicker one. All right, so step one is it comes with this kind of like a little trimming gasket. You're going to cut that in half. It's actually going to go right here. This is, I believe, for your air tank. So place it like this. And you may actually have to trim this axis right here. All right, so we're just going to trim the axis right here. Just like so. Now we're just going to trim the axis right here. All right, so up next, we are just going to be putting all of these fittings onto the compressor. And it's a fairly easy process. What I'm doing is I scan the QR code. I'm looking at the instructions to see where the fittings go. All right, so here is the compressor installed per instructions. All these fittings have a name. So for example, these right here, these plugs are the F5 part number, and then like F1. So basically, if you want to take a screenshot or pause the video, this is how all the fittings go. But I do have onboard air management system. So one air goes out to the back where you use the hose, but the other air line would go to your compressor. Normally, this compressor would go right into the tank, but the way this kit is designed, they're going to be on opposite ends of the vehicle. So we're going to have to run a line from the compressor to the tank. So we're going to be using this fitting. So this is how I think it goes as of right now. Now we're going to be installing the compressor. So you're going to be on the passenger side of the vehicle. And what you're going to do is get a 10 millimeter, remove this bolt right here. We have to relocate this NOx sensor. We're probably going to have to move it out the way so that the bracket can sit right there. Alright, so the next step is to remove this bracket right here. In order to do that, we have two 15 mils here, and also 15 mil through this pocket, and another 15 mil through this pocket. And once you get those out, you can see right here the bracket is already starting to be loose. All right, so just move this out the way like this. Actually, I could probably just stay up here like that. This is how the bracket's gonna go, like that. And then we're gonna put it in the spot. Be careful, like so. The NOx plug is gonna be in your way. Tuck it up there. So, and then just make sure it comes out on the other side. But make sure they are sitting in this little pocket on the side like this. Alright, you gotta put this clip on this way. The bolt has to go from the bottom. Bottoms up. Alright, so here we have the compressor bracket secured. The bolt that goes through right there will line up with this bracket. So just reuse this bracket, and the bracket's back in place. I went ahead and put these bolts back in. So it's pretty sturdy, and it just reuses the nut that's behind this bracket, the original mounting hardware. So that's how it looks now. And let's go ahead and put the compressor on. There we go. The compressor didn't want to go in the first time because the bolt right here from the sensor was sticking down too much. All right. Install the compressor onto the bracket, and these hardware, these nuts and bolts will be provided in the same box as the compressor. All right, so we're now on the driver's side of the vehicle. We're going to be mounting the compressor, which will go right here. So we have to remove the def plug right here. We just got to relocate it for now because the compressor is going to sit in this position. Which I presume goes through here. And then this hole, which I presume goes through this hole. So essentially, these two holes. All right, so this side is going to be the same as the other side. There's going to be this bracket, and there's two 15mm bolts that we're going to remove. One here and one here. All right, those are out. All right, let's find your home first. That sounds about right. Okay. All right, it's just like that. Let's relocate it right here. All right. What I did was I actually just went ahead and wired the yellow wires to the pressure switch. And the reason is once I put it onto the spot, I'm not going to be able to get to it to wire these up. All right, so we have successfully installed the train horns on this 2020 Plus GMC Sierra. I'm going to show you guys exactly how I mounted everything, ran the wires, and ran the lines for this whole kit. So if we look under the truck, the compressor is mounted right here. We have one trumpet right here, right by the step. The onboard air management line right here under this step, in which we may possibly relocate it somewhere else because it is just a little wobbly. So we're gonna find a more fixed, secure area so that way it doesn't wobble as much. But if we go to the middle of the vehicle, here is how the trumpet is ran. Air tank, and this line right here is for your train horns. It's a main line from the compressor ran above the fuel tank, as you'll see right here. And then it goes to your middle trumpet. So one line is going to feed. We're going to follow that line. It goes above the frame. And it ends up right here on this trumpet. And then the other line goes from here above the fuel tank and ends up over here for this trumpet. And that is what gives these train horns the sound, is obviously from the compressor, air blowing out, and the main line goes to the middle and then it splits. All right, so the wiring from the compressor, which is the yellow wire that I showed you guys earlier, that's your pressure switch, which comes from the top of the air tank. And now, per Klein's instruction, they want you to run that line across the vehicle, but I just wanted to eliminate much of wires and lines going across the vehicle, especially like with the drive shaft and everything else being there. So what I did is I actually ran it straight down here, and here is the yellow wire. It splits. This wire is going to go up and above, and this wire right here goes through the grommet that's going to be under here. So it's through that grommet right there, and it runs up here, as you can see, right there, and it goes through the center console. So what you got to do is you got to pop this out, and there's I think it was like a 7 or 8 millimeter nut or a bolt, and pop this out, and you can run it straight through. You run it straight through, as you can see right there. And on the passenger side, these 2020s have an auxiliary spot that you can use. So you run that wire straight into this right here, this little auxiliary. And this female plug is included in the Klein's air horn kit. But there's like a little male end sticking out right there that comes factory from these vehicles. You can use it for dash cams, or you can use it for train horns. There you go. All right, now passenger side explained. All right, so from the compressor, we're gonna have a wiring harness that runs along the frame with the factory wires. You're gonna run it through the fender right here, and as you'll see, it comes up right there. And I actually ran it across the engine bay here instead of running it across under the vehicle. And the reason why we want to run it across here is because this is where we're going to do all the electrical connections and whatnot. So you guys remember this yellow wire, which was down there, and it split. One wire went up through the grommet here, and the other one went up through the wheel well and ended up right here. Purple wire is for your solenoid. So 1 second. And I forgot to mention your solenoid right here, the purple wire, has to be ran all the way to the front of the vehicle. So basically, I ran it down that way along the frame with the other harness. So there's two harnesses running along the frame, and the black wire from the solenoid just grounded it right there. And what we do here is the solenoid, the purple wire, goes into your fuse box. And the reason why it goes into the fuse box is, personally, I wanted to use the main truck horn to activate the train horns. So if you pop open the fuse box right here with an inline fuse, we have it tapped to this fuse right here, which is your horn fuse. So basically, when you do your regular horn, it activates and opens up the solenoid for the train horns, and then you don't need another switch to run your train horns. And at this point, it's just all preference. Personally, when the time comes and I have to use the train horns, I don't want to be looking for a button. I'd rather just react and use the actual horn on the vehicle. And so, yep, this is the solenoid and the main power wire that goes to the battery. And then this is the red wire, power wire from the compressor. All right, so we have it all ran here, and it goes to your relay. And from here, it's pretty self-explanatory. I will put the diagram right here that you guys can follow. And all you have to do is follow the diagram. So all the wires that you ran up from this side of the vehicle and that side of the vehicle and end up over here all go to this relay. Yep, and that is really it. Obviously, there are different ways to wire things up. If you wanted to have a separate switch, have a wire, go to your vehicle and you can have a momentary switch that activates the solenoid. But personally, I think it's better to just have it on your factory horn. Very, very simple. It is a little bit time consuming, especially if it's your first time, but it's definitely not that hard, especially if you watch this video and just follow everything step by step. And I basically have everything laid out for you guys. So just run all the wires down the frame here and then run the wires down the frame on the other side, have it come across the engine bay, and just let all the wires meet here. And once you do that, you're pretty much done. Everything else is just kind of like plug and play to the relay.